Hey everybody, Gina Mizell here alongside Danny Moran. We are outside the Valley Football Center where on Friday, Oregon State officially announced and introduced Kevin Clune as their new defensive coordinator. We've known about this now for a few days, but he finally got to talk with the media. Just sort of what were your first general impressions at getting to talk to him for the first time?
I think just the history that he has with Gary Anderson. I mean, something that we've talked about a little bit. You can see just from his resume. He was a part of Southern Oregon when Gary Anderson
Southern Utah,
Southern Utah, excuse me. I'm so used to being in Oregon. Southern Utah, when the year that Gary Anderson was the head coach there for that entire building process, which included even painting the offices, and he talked about painting the field. Went to Weber State, then Utah State. So I mean, he just kind of bounced around. And I think the fact that Gary Anderson actually said that it was a benefit that Kevin Clune had been at a couple different places over the past 2 years. He was, took over as defensive coordinator in Hawaii before then going back to Utah State this past year. So I think, and Gary Anderson said the reason he thought that was beneficial was because he's now seen kind of how multiple places operate in a short span of time can bring new ideas, into the fold at Oregon State.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he is familiar with the 3-4 system that Oregon State is going to run, and it seems like it makes sense. Like that, this was the first name that we mentioned when we said who would replace Kalani Sitake. This is indeed the hire, and Anderson is pretty adamant or pretty upfront about saying, I don't really like to go outside my circle too much. So it does just make sense with the history that he has, not just with Anderson, but with some other guys on staff too.
And one of the important things I think he talked about too was the recruiting aspect. I mean, Kalani Sitake, a lot of what you lose when he goes to become head coach at BYU is his ability to recruit. And Gary Anderson said that as of last night, as soon as he became official that Kevin Clune got the job, he was on the phone with different recruits who are maybe, on the fence or a little less sure about their commitment since Kalani Sitake left. So that's kind of where he's picking up, in that aspect too.
Absolutely. Well, we don't know officially, or we don't have an official announcement about Corey Hall as the new cornerbacks coach, but that is certainly expected in the next few days or so. It sounds like some bureaucratic stuff is still the hold up there. But one other thing that I think is interesting is we've talked about this, but Gary Anderson spoke about he's now going to coach the defensive line. Chad Kay is now going to coach the outside linebackers. Kind of said that was an opportunity for him to really take a step forward in his career by taking a step back in the defense and sort of coaching a new position group. And then, of course, Kevin Clune is coaching the inside linebackers. And he also addressed the offensive changes, too, as well, as far as Kevin McGivern and TJ Woods moving over to be co-offensive coordinators. Dave Baldwin, now the inside receivers coach. And he said after going through a year in the Pac-12, you need 5 coaches basically at each position, or he wanted to what's the word I'm looking for? He wanted to categorize things a little bit more and specialize things a little bit more going into the season.
Yeah, it's an interesting shift. I think one of the things he talked about too, meaning Gary Anderson, was about Kevin Clune not just being able to work with different players and teach them, but also to work with different coaches too. So it's interesting to hear that Kevin Clune has a certain amount of background with people like Chad Kay and can kind of come in and have an existing relationship too. The offensive side, we heard a little bit less about it. I mean, obviously, Dave Baldwin, got demoted in a sense to become inside receivers coach, whereas TJ Woods, Kevin McGivern are co-offensive coordinators. We heard a little bit less about that, but I mean, I think all it came down to was that he feels, meaning Gary Anderson, that this is the best chance for the offense moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, we will have plenty more coverage of Kevin Clune's introduction as Oregon State's new defensive coordinator. Again, hopefully the Corey Hall news will become official here in the next few days, and we're on the march towards signing day and then spring ball. It's crazy. It's January 2016, and we are officially rocking and rolling. So keep it on OregonLive.com. Keep reading the Oregonian every single day. For Danny Moran, I am Gina Mizell. We will catch you next time.